What's up, all you motorcycle enthusiasts, and welcome to the V-Twin Life here on YouTube. We talk motorcycles powered by those V-Twins, what fuels our passion, why we enjoy it so much. V-Twin Life is brought to you by these two great companies, Crash Inc. Clothing and Wild Ass Seats. Hey, you want to add some comfort to your ass when you're out riding, whether you're a 400-mile guy, or maybe a guy that's pushing 1,000 plus, or female rider for that matter? Hey, check out wild-ass.com and add some comfort to your ass. Can't forget Crash Inc. Clothing, that Northwest brand out of the Pacific Northwest. Hey, these guys got a lot of great stuff, from t-shirts to hats, raincoats, you name it. Hey, they can get you covered. Check out crashinclothing.com. Now, let's dive into another milepost of the V-Twin Life. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the V-Twin Life and milepost 76. We got a Guinness Book of World Records holder now, an endurance riding fool that just crushes miles and it just enjoys it. So welcome, Dana, to the V-Twin Life.
Hi.
Thank you for taking time out, and you already got people, you know, some of your friends are tuning in. They're here.
Oh, the Tennessee 2. Yes. Oh, look, you put Hoka Hey sister. That's right.
You've done a few of them.
Yeah, 2. Wait, where is it? 2-time finisher. Where am I? Yep. Oh, on this side. Yep. Nope, this side. Yes. 2018 and 20. I would have done this year, but when I called Beth and first I called John Levins or texted him and said, "Hey, this is what I'm going to be doing." And he says, "Oh, did you talk to Beth yet?" So I told Beth, "Hey, this is what I'm going to be doing." And then they kindly reminded me that I signed the paper that says you cannot be doing another event while you're doing Hoka Hey. So John video chats me, and I missed it twice, and I called him, and he goes, "Hey," and he tells me, and I go, "Okay," like, because I already knew I was going to do this. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I'll miss Hoka Hey, but I put in my route to be there at the beginning, the start and the finish. So I knew this year I was going to be at the finish party, regardless, so.
And speaking of that, the Hoka Hey, we were talking about the start and the finish. I got to give a big thank you and a shout out to Black Hills Harley-Davidson, because when I was over there for the start, they did some work on my bike, and I started having issues about 2 weeks ago, and it ended up being, they had made an oops and put my primary chain tensioner shoe in backwards, which ended up collapsing the tensioner. I called them, and, they were worried about it, wanted to make sure there's no damage, whatnot. And this was like on a Saturday afternoon. Said, the manager's going to call you back. We'll get with you later in the week. Mm-hmm. I got it fixed, put it back together, still was having some real bad noises. What happened, my compensator came loose. And I ended up talking with the manager yesterday. We talked for a while on the phone. I tightened it. Luckily, everything is all right. But they are actually going to compensate me for my time of having to work on my own bike after it was in their shop, because they made a mistake, and I get it. We're all human, but for them, I want to say, that's kind of going above and beyond what I think any other dealerships would do. I was just expecting, the have a nice day, not our problem, but they really stood behind the fact it was in their shop. They made a mistake, and they're compensating me for my time having to wrench on my bike after they had it. And I think that's absolutely awesome when a dealership will go the extra mile and then more to make things right, which is awesome. And then also I want to say a thank you to Olympic Power Sports, because during this time, which is one of the shops where I live here in Port Angeles, it was late in the day. I needed some primary fluid because I got stuff done and I didn't have any. I thought I had some, but I had transmission fluid, and actually called Monty Cotton, who owns it, at home, and he ran down to the shop to meet me there to get me a quart of primary fluid, which is awesome. So I got a big thank you to Monty, which was cool. And hey, while I'm here, I might as well also say a congratulations to my daughter and her now fiance, who got engaged this weekend. So that'll be fun next year. We'll be doing a wedding next year, which is awesome. So I just want to say congratulations to Maddie and Austin. And now we'll get back to our regular scheduled programming. So
Listen, I may do a couple shout outs while we're
go for it.
on here. Yeah. So I did have Rick Rogers say, "Hey, if you mention my name during the podcast, Rick Rogers, he would donate to my charity of choice." So Rick Rogers.
I think there was somebody else that also put something in there I saw too.
Oh, who? What? Oh, yeah. Who was that? I forgot. Oh my
Go
gosh.
home, Ken.
Oh no, that part. Oh, we will talk about Go Home Ken. We will talk about my personal savant. So yeah, yeah.
So, well, when did you first get into motorcycles, Dana?
I had. Oh, and it's more like Dana.
Dana.
So
Okay, sorry, my fault.
so I had a moped in high school. That well, first of all, my dad had a Honda. I remember a 750, and it said, "If you can hold it up, you can ride it." And I was like, couldn't do that. And then when I got my license, he bought me a moped. And then I'm riding this moped around. This is in the 80s. And he said, I think you'll be safer on a motorcycle because you need some power to get out of the way. So he bought me a Yamaha 200. And I rode that until I graduated from high school. He sold it. But when the person who bought it was driving it out of the driveway, I thought to myself, I will get another motorcycle one day. So I just knew I said in my 20s, I said, I'm going to get a motorcycle, but I'm going to wait till I'm 50 and then I'll start riding again. So I just so that's how it all started.
You had a long hiatus then.
Yeah. Well, I was raising kids.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
understandable.
And it's like, and I just, in my 20s, I said, oh my gosh, it would be so cool to ride from Maine to California. Doesn't that sound like fun? So I already felt that way back then in my 20s. So when I started riding, shout out to Lori Rocco and Debbie Harriswello. We were called the Moms of Anarchy, 3 members strong. And so when I was renting a bike for 2 years. I would rent on and off, and I had one of my coworkers would loan me his bike, and
Well, that's nice of him.
yeah, Tony Kearns. He would loan me his bike, and he goes, "Put some miles on my bike." So it was a Fat Boy, and so I'd ride that, or I'd rent, and for 2 years while I was trying to decide what I wanted, and then I finally bought a Heritage. As a matter of fact, Debbie today got a thing on Facebook, a memory, and it was 6 years ago that I bought my Heritage. So that's pretty
cool.
Yeah. So our first long ride was to the Villages, and I told Lori and Debbie, I said, I only have 2 rules for this. I don't want to ride highway, and I do not want to ride at night. And they're like, okay, we won't. Well, to get to the Villages from my house, do you know anything about the Villages?
No.
Okay.
Where's that?
So it's Central Florida. So to get to the Villages, there was like maybe 2 miles that we had to get on the interstate. And so Debbie, we're getting gas, and she goes, I'm sorry, Dana, but we're going to have to do a little bit of interstate. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I was just nervous to be on the interstate. This was 6 years ago. So I did a little bit of interstate. And then on a Sunday when we were coming home, we took so long because I wouldn't do interstate that they go, oh, really sorry, Dana, but for us to get home, we're going to have to ride in the dark. So all of a sudden the sun's going down, and I go, okay. So the 2 things I didn't want to do, I ended up doing, and I'm so glad I did.
Well, how did you get the bug for long distance riding?
You know what? Like I said, I must have always had it because I said, like in my 20s, I'm like, that would be so cool to ride from Maine to California. Like not even thinking about it, like that seemed cool to me on a motorcycle. And then once I started, yeah. And then but I didn't know I was going to do 80,000 miles in between that. But so when I was riding with Debbie and Lori, they'll love this. So I just started following. I just gravitated towards people that were doing long distance riding. So in 2017, we decided to go to Daytona Bike Week. And I had already been following Kenneth Andrews. I met him via social media like 2015. And I was following him, and he's doing all these long rides. And he was in this really cheesy Facebook group, but he would always put a link. And he was doing Tour of Honor and Alder, American Ultimate Long Distance Riders. He's doing all this. And I'm like, what is this stuff? So I find out while we're going to go up to Daytona, Kenneth Andrews and Ken Cowart are going to do their 100 CCC, and they're going to start in Jacksonville. So the whole time we're going up to Daytona, I keep telling Debbie and Lori, there's 2 long distance riders that are going to be in Daytona. We should go meet them. And they're going, and I go, no, we really should go meet them. So I go, what are the odds we could go meet them? And we finally, this is late at night. And this is like, I want to say like 9:00 at night. We're going to get to our hotel. It's on a Friday night. And I said, so we're getting our last gas. And I said, hey, we could go to Jacksonville and meet those 2 long distance riders. And Debbie says, no, I'm not going to go. And Lori goes, oh, I'm not going to go. And I said, well, I'm going to go. I actually texted Ken Cowart, hey, I'm on my way. And he goes, we're about to go to sleep. I said, okay, I'll be there in an hour and a half. And they literally, like, I wouldn't take no for an answer. I find out where they're staying. We did the water. We got the, Atlantic Ocean water because they're going to go to the Pacific. And I did their, what is it? Their witness statement, that they're going to take off on this 100 CCC. And Kenneth Andrews reminds me, because I said, you guys are only an hour and a half away. It's only an hour and a half. And he goes, just remember the ride is actually 3 hours because you got to get back to where you were. And I go, oh, yeah, that's right. I think I didn't get back to the hotel like till 2 a.m. It was, but anyways, because of that, they bought me this. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. It says, strangers have the best candy, because Debbie kept saying, you're meeting total strangers. And I said, they're not strangers. They're long distance riders. Like, no, this is fine. So that's basically, and that just kickstarted it. So.
That's fun. Like Ken, he was milepost 29.
Yep.
Almost 50 episodes ago.
Crazy. You've been busy.
That was before the YouTube though. I think it's around 50. I think I came to YouTube in the late 40s.
Well, I'm glad there's that many long distance riders that you can interview. That's what's cool about it.
And it's so much fun because just hearing some of their adventures, and you can learn a lot from them.
Yeah. Oh,
and some of the setups and the riding, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. As a matter of, you don't know this, but I was the stalker. Obviously, if I rode an hour and a half to meet people I didn't even know just because they were doing a long distance ride. But everybody was like, she's a stalker. And I did. I stalked everybody because I'm like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, that's so cool. What's on their bike? I would like zoom in and go, I like that tank bag. What kind of tank bag is that? What cup holder do you have? Like, I just liked how people had things set up, and or I just liked what they were, their rides, So yeah, I definitely stalked. Oh, let me back up. So when we were in Daytona and it's time to leave, Debbie decides they're going to stay another night. And so I'm like, I'm going to ride back from Daytona to Fort Lauderdale by myself. Now, mind you, like, I don't know, 5 months prior or 4 months prior, I didn't want to ride on the highway or at night. So now I just got on my bike from Daytona and rode by myself in the rain in the dark because it took me like 6 hours to get home because of the traffic. And I literally, I'm like, oh my gosh. I just like that gave me the bug. That gave me the bug. I have to give a shout out to Wendy Battles and Bill Reynolds. I actually texted Wendy after that and I said, I was so proud of myself for riding from literally Daytona to Fort Lauderdale. And it's not really that far, but it's like 4 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, I rode 4 hours by myself. So that like, that helped.
Well, just builds courage and experience, and
Yes.
you do the things that you don't want to do, and then kind of you realize that, hey, this isn't quite as bad as I thought, and it's all part of just building that resume and time riding and
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Yep. And as Debbie would say, she goes, technically we didn't leave you. You left us. And I go, Debbie, we were all supposed to ride together. I said, but I want to thank you. I want to thank you for staying another night. And I couldn't stay another night. I said that literally pushed me out of the nest. That's what I needed. Yeah.
I went for a little night ride last night. It was a total different experience because I finally got all my new custom dynamics lights, and actually haven't had a chance to ride at night with a new headlight, the fog lights, and it's like night and day difference from
Yeah.
the stock lights to the new Pro Beam adaptive light on the roadglide. And the fog lights is freaking amazing.
Yeah. So I wanted to keep my bike stocked because somebody said the way to have I don't know how they said it, like a bike that nobody else would have is a stocked bike. And I thought, I'm going to have a stocked bike. So I had the terrible light on a Heritage,
Yeah.
and my first saddle sore, because I stalked this guy, Michael Brennan, who's my handler. We stalked him. I stalked him, and he said, "Hey, I'll take you for your first saddle sore." So he's going to take us to Georgia, and this is in 2017. And so I called Debbie and Lori, and I said, "Oh my gosh, Michael Brennan he'll take us to Georgia on this saddle sore." So I end up calling Wendy and Bill and Paco and Carlos Casedo. I call all these people, and we're going to do this ride to Georgia. And literally, while we're riding down the road, everybody's just joining up with us. Wendy and Bill pull up. We're all on the turnpike. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm riding with all these cool riders. And while we're going up, it's dark because we met at dark 30. And we're behind Carlos. First, Carlos was behind us. And we're like, dude, your lights, man, they're so bright. Oh my gosh, you're going to have to get in front of us. He gets in front of us and we're like, oh my gosh, his backlights are even worse. And that's when I realized I need those lights because I had that Heritage, that one little light, and it was like kerosene. It's like, it was like terrible. And that's when that's when I bought lights. I thought that was, that's what I needed. I needed to ride with people who had good lights.
Well, it was, when I was getting ready for the Monsters Over Mountains, I had Dave Pabella from Custom Dynamics, and we got to talking, and they redid my whole bike. Headlights, all new, the Pro Beam front blinkers with halos, the fog lights, the headlight, the tail lights, brake light, the run turn brake controller, I mean, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what a difference. Because I'm, like you were saying, I was following a buddy of mine on a street glide. We were coming over White's Pass, and he had the Custom Dynamics lights in the back, and they were obnoxiously bright. It's like, dear God, those are impressive. But it's, and the other hand's like, what, people are going to see. And Todd had actually turned his down a little bit so they weren't facing directly, or just a slight angle down. But when you're on a motorcycle, even if you don't have your saddlebag trim lights or the run turn brake controller, so you got all three, or you're not running a tour pack with lights, the more lights you can get and the brighter they can be, it's just the better chance of safety you have. So
Well, and then people still don't see you and they still hit you. You know,
yeah,
they're like,
but
I didn't
yeah,
see you. And it's like, dude, I just paid, like $3,000 for lights. You didn't see those? You know, you have good lights when you pass a car and they go like, all you see, like I passed a guy once and this is all I see in his window. I look over and he's going like this. And I go, okay, my lights are irritating. Good,
yeah, good. You can see me.
good.
Well, it's like last night. I was just on the highway for a short second. I mean, cars they just switching lanes. It's like I'm not even gonna. They don't want to stay in front of you. I'm like,
Mhm.
go.
That's right. Oh, and you know what? I'm not rude about it. Like if I'm behind a semi and I'm going around, I'll speed up, because I know, um, it's rude and I don't want to be too rude. So I just speed up a little and then I can go, so they're not blinding, in their side mirror. But
Either that, and also it's not hanging right back by their back trailer. I mean, because for me, I mean, that's what I do
right.
for a living. I drive truck for a living, and you get those people that want to hang right by your trailer tires in your trailer, or just a little bit up. It's like either get all the way back or just get in front.
Yeah.
You
Well,
get
I
in
don't
some of
want
those areas. I mean, we do have the extra mirrors, but still, it's like, hanging right there is just not a good idea.
yeah, I don't want to be by your big tires either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when I went to get my first service while on the road, he's asking me all these questions. When did you have your tires changed? Um, how many miles you have on your tires? And he's asking me, and I go, oh crap, I don't have this information. So I call my dealership, Alligator Alley, which is in Sunrise, Florida. And I talked to Patrick, Patrick is my service guy. Love him. And he answers anytime I call. And I said, Patrick, how many miles do I have on my tires? I said, he's asking me all these questions. And while I'm talking to Patrick, I'm on the road and there's two semis and the semi behind the other semi flash. And I actually went like this, like to let him know, because he had his blinker on. So I'm letting him know I'm in the left-hand lane. And he goes, come over. Now I'm still talking to Patrick. And then he goes back to right behind the semi. So I'm like, okay. So I ride up, and while I'm talking to Patrick, I'm listening to Patrick, and I look up, and the truck driver is going like this to me. So I went, well, fuck you too. And Patrick goes, excuse me. So I forgot I was talking to Patrick. And I go, not you, Patrick, not you. I said, I don't know why, because I actually was in the Army and I was a truck driver. And I am very courteous to truck drivers because I'm like, they're working. I'm out here having fun.
You
They're working.
understand it.
Absolutely. It's like they're working. Let them move over. They have a job to do. They're doing it right now, and they're bringing my toilet paper or whatever the heck. That's my Amazon you have, So it's like, oh, I'm very courteous. So I didn't know why. I thought I got all my signals right. It's like I flash, like, come over. And I went like this. And he changed his mind. And then he's flipping me off. And I'm like, what the hell? But poor Patrick, he's like, excuse me.
So in 18, so what made you want to sign up when, take the ultimate plunge of, testing yourself with the Hoka Hey?
So in 2014, when I got my endorsement, I'm so glad you asked me this. In 2014, when I got my endorsement, I'm at Alligator Alley, but at the time it was called Chester's, and it was owned by a guy. I think it was E.B. Chester, and I'm there taking the class, and they have this big canopy, a big tent, and there's two motorcycles parked in there. And I didn't read what it said. It said Hoka Hey Motorcycle Challenge. But I go under the canopy and I'm looking at the bikes, and there's this older gentleman, and he's standing there. And I said, whose bikes are these? And he says, this is my bike, and that's my wife's bike. And I said, oh. And I said, what's going on? And he goes, oh, I'm packing it for a trip. He doesn't even tell me it's the Hoka Hey. So he says, I'm packing it for a trip. So I go, okay. And all I'm thinking in my head is, they let you pull your motorcycle inside this dealership to just pack your bike for a trip. I thought, well, that's really cool. I had no idea who I was talking to. I didn't even know I was talking to the owner of the dealership. So I said, how many miles do you have on your bike? I'm just pumping him for information. And I said, how many miles does your wife have? And he tells me, and it's like big miles. And I go, oh, and I go, are you retired? He goes, no, uh, um, no, not really. And I said, well, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I own a dealership. And I'm thinking car dealership. I go, oh, okay. So I go, well, have fun. And I walk away. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, you know who you were talking to? And I go, I have no idea who I was talking to. And he goes, E.B. Chester. And I go, okay. And it didn't, like, I'm at Chester's Harley dealership. And he goes, he's the owner of the dealership. And I go, oh, as soon as he told me that, I went back over to him and I said, you know what would be cool is if you had a viewing room that we could watch people working on the motorcycles. Like in the OR, like you have the audience, that's all I said to the guy. So I didn't say, what are you doing? So then when I walked away, he goes, he's doing the Hoka Hey motorcycle challenge. That's when I turned around. I went, Hoka Hey, okay. Well, I looked it up and I'm like, that's cool. So I tucked it away. I'm following Kenneth Andrews on social media. And in 2016, he says, I have gotten accepted to do Hoka Hey motorcycle challenge. And I was like, wait a minute, I've heard that. Like, I know that. So now I actually know someone who's going to be doing it. So that was 2016. And I said, I want to do that. But now I'm watching him do it. And from 2016 until 2018, my second job was to meet as many Hoka Hey people and know, like, what do I need to do to get prepared for that. So that's how it all, and so, I mean, people would go, well, what if you can't finish Hoka Hey? And I go, I guess if I can't finish it in the time frame of my vacation time, I guess I turn around and I go back home. Well, when I was in the midst of doing it, I'm like, there's no way I'm turning around and going back home. I'm just going to keep doing it until I finish. You know what I mean? Like I didn't, It was like, no, what was I thinking? Like I wouldn't stop in the middle of it and go, okay, I'm going to go home. I ran out of vacation time. I'd have to call my boss and say, listen, I'm still out of here on the road. I can't stop now, So
when you thought about it, you find about what, 16. So is that kind of when you found, like the Iron Breast Society and started challenging yourself that way just to mentally prepare yourself?
Well, when Kenneth was doing Hoka Hey in 2016, I still didn't have a bike yet.
Oh, okay.
Because that was, I think, June or July of 2016. I didn't get a bike till September 2016. So I'm following it, thinking to myself, that's what I want to do. And then when I finally decided what bike I was going to get, I bought my bike. And that's when I was like, okay, I had all those restrictions that I didn't want to do. And then I finally, once I started riding in 2017, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do Hoka Hey. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll keep there were some things I had to do, before I would be accepted to do Hoka Hey. The Junie that decides if you're going to be in or not. She had me. I had some milestones I had to do before she would even consider letting me do the Hoka Hey. Finally, she came.
Which I think is smart on their point. I mean, that's not something just that anybody should go do. I mean, it's
Yes.
You've got to be a seasoned, conditioned riding fool in a way. But I mean, to be able to, you got the patches. To be a finisher, I think is absolutely the top of a motorcycle riding resume. I think you want to go, you get the Hoka Hey, and then if you get along with the Iron Butt Society, and if you can finish the IBA rally, you're a serious rider, and that's the top of the resume when it comes to people that really want to push themselves when it comes to motorcycling and say, hey, you know what, I can do it, and I can do the miles, and I got the proof.
So, Hoka Hey and Iron Butt Association, totally two entities.
Right.
Um, Kenneth had put it like he said it perfectly in a podcast where he said Iron Butt is Iron Butt and Hoka Hey is familial. And you truly, I find the Hoka Hey family to be the Hoka Hey people. They're my family. Like it's unbelievable what people like. You don't realize how many wonderful people there are out there in the riding community. And the Iron Butt's the same way, but it's a truly familial thing with Hoka Hey. That's my opinion. Um, the Iron Butt, I've got to say, the hardest ride I have done is the Bun Burner Gold.
I
I've
don't doubt that.
it's I I finally had to. I didn't want to tell anybody I was going to do it because I'm like, again, like I was telling you, this external pressure. I only told one person, Roger Bias. I said, hey, I'm going to attempt a bun burner. I'm going to do a 1500 on Saturday. He's like, okay. And so he's like coaching me up. And I called him because he was a pilot. He just, he was, so many people have been so wonderful, giving me so much information, and they know that I'm going to listen. So he was the only person I told. I did it, and
Well, for
then
those listening, I mean, I don't know if everybody is familiar. So you got your Bun Burner, which is 1,500 miles in under 36. Bun Burner Gold is 1,500 miles in under 24
in
hours.
24 hours, yes, yeah, yeah. And it was funny because I did it in state. And so I'm riding around Florida, and every time I'd hit like traffic or whatever, I'd have to turn. I'm doing all this crap, and I'm in Naples, and I'm not too far from my house. It's an hour and a half away. And he calls me up and he goes, "Oh, did you decide not to do it?" And I go, he's we're on Bluetooth. He calls me. And I go, no, the traffic's horrible. I was just going to go across the outlet. He goes, all righty then. Okay. And then he was all excited. But here he was. I was so close to my house. He's thinking I'm like, she's throwing in the towel. And I'm like, I'm not. And he goes, okay. Wash your face with cold water. I go, okay. And he goes, and take your cooler and all that cold water that's in it. I go, yes. He goes, just throw it over your head. That's what he told me. And I go, okay, Roger. And then I just got on my bike. I finished up. I think I finished it was 23 hours and 45 minutes.
Ooh.
So here I am at the gas station. I roll in, get my gas, get my receipt. And I'm so excited. And I turn around because there's no one to celebrate with me. I wanted to tell the stranger, like, I just rode 1,500 miles in 24 hours. Woo-hoo-hoo! Like, be all crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was so freaking hard. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I did it. So I'm like, let me do it. Let me do it again. And actually, I was pissed off at all my friends that do it all the time. Cause I'm like, you guys made that look easy. That shit's hard, I'm like,
Yeah.
they leave at 5 p.m. and then like get it all done and be done at, I don't know, like they do not 23 hours and 45 minutes. But one of my friends, he goes, Dana, it's still a BBG, even though it's 23 hours and 45 minutes. You have 24 hours, right? So I'm like, oh my God. So then I decide to do another one. And David Elizondo and Chris Hopper decides to meet me because I'm coming up Florida, going I-10, and I go to Houston. And they come out to meet me. And we're sitting out there bullshitting. And then I go, okay, let me get going. So I head back and I realize I am almost out of time. So now I'm in Louisiana, and I'm, that stretch right there, hardly any gas stations, hardly any exits. And I have Michael Brennan calling me, and he goes, "Dana, you're like cutting it close." And I go, I know. I'm riding, so I thought, if a cop pulls me over, I'm just going to tell him, come with me, because I'm not stopping. Oh, and there was no place to stop. I swear, when I rolled into that gas station, pump my gas, get my receipt, and I go, "Oh my gosh!" And that was the last time I did one. So that was a while ago, because I'm like, that shit's hard.
So
So
what made you want to dive into, the planning? Let's get into your Guinness Book of World Records ride that you just got
okay.
certified on. How did that all start? And go get from the beginning.
So I saw that Donnell Lynn had back in 2016 had this record, and when I read about it, because I'm looking at all this long distance riding. When I read about it, I think she did 40 some odd thousand, like 46,000 miles. But back in 2016, I couldn't fathom 46,000 miles. So I was like, kudos to her. That's awesome. And I read about it and all this and watched some of her videos, but obviously tucked it in my head. In 2017 and 2018, when I started riding more, I started thinking about that record. So I looked, and I didn't know this, but there was a guy in between Donnell and the guy from India, and I would say his name, but I would like totally butcher it, so I apologize. Siddharth from India. In between Donnell and Siddharth, there was a guy who my friend Jesse Alexander from Texas actually knows, that had the record, but he must have had it for a period that I had never checked back in on that record. So, anyways, by the time I felt like, wow, I think I'd like to do that. I think I could do that. That's what I was thinking in my head. I went and looked online, and the record was now up to almost 73,000 miles, or 72,000 miles.
Now, is this for an all in country ride? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's longest journey on a motorcycle in a single country by an individual. And so when I didn't think I could do it, it was at 46,000. Now I'm thinking, oh, I could, yeah, 46,000 is doable. When I looked, it's now at like 72,000, a little under 72,000. So I tucked it away, but I'm like, no, back in 2017 or 18, I already had it in my head. This has been going on for a while. So, yeah. So I did tell some people that this is what I wanted to do. And then I applied for it in 2019 for 2020. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but let me just apply for it. And then COVID hit, and shit happens. And so I reapplied June of 2021 to do it this year, because I thought, oh, I'll do it and I'll incorporate the miles from Hoka Hey. That'll give me 10,000 miles. That'll give me a journey, a journey within a journey. And so, yeah, so it just was all triggered back in 2016. That's when I started thinking about this.
Now, when you say apply for it, so who'd you have to apply with for? Was that with
Guinness.
Guinness or? Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yep. You have to do an application. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep. I did, because I looked into it. Because I was really interested. I'm like, I want to do that. So,
So, did you have any plans? I mean, Grant, okay, so you wanted to do it. Was there certain places you had put on a list? Say, okay, I'm going to do this 82 plus thousand miles, but I
get,
want to see this, this, and this.
getting into the meat of it. So I had my touristy sites I wanted to do. And then I was, talking with people. Kenneth Andrews, shout out to him, because he really he helped me formulate a plan, a route, but he helped me daily to do that. So I wanted to incorporate Tour of Honor. Shout out to the Brooks brothers, Dave and Steve. So I'm like, okay, I'll start this April 1st. I ended up starting April 3rd, but I'll start it April 1st. I'll incorporate Tour of Honor. Those would be sites to go see. And I didn't know where they were going to be. So it's like, okay, that'd just give me, like, I won't go to all the touristy things. I'm going to go in places that people normally wouldn't go to, these small little towns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With Tour of Honor. And I'm like, I'm going to incorporate that. And so I'll start April 1st. I'll go to the taco run in Medicine Park. I thought, I'll do that. And then that will kickstart me off. That's how I picked April. Not realizing in April showers bring May flowers. And I really learned a lot about the weather and how all the shit rolls this way, and and I wanted to avoid bad weather. So it was
Head
like,
south.
well, yeah, south. I had to do a lot of south and a little bit towards the west. And then it was a while before I could get up to your area because of the weather,
Mm-hmm.
And that part I didn't even think about, because, which is so retarded, but I live in South Florida. It's like, it's rainy here, but it's hot rain, it actually cools you off, and then it's just blistering humid after it.
I've heard
Um,
that.
yeah, when I was in Oregon, it's June, and I'm wiping slush off my face shield, going, "What the hell? It's snowing in Crater Lake. This is June, And it truly did not, like, I didn't realize, like, wow, it was a while before I could get up in that area, which was totally worth it. So,
We had some crazy weather. I can remember, God, it might have been April. I was going down to Longview, which is down by the Washington Oregon border, and it started snowing one morning. I'm, taking a
mhm.
load of lumber down there for work. I'm like, what the hell? And at one point, it's like you can't even see the lanes on I-5. I'm like, this is fucked.
That's,
I
yeah.
mean, Mother Nature is having serious bipolar issues.
Well, and I wanted to see Crater Lake, and when I had the opportunity, it was snowing. And I thought I didn't want to risk being in snow with my heavy bike. And as I said to the lady in Montana when I went to get a hotel room, I said, where, before I sign any papers and pay, where can I park? Because literally it was gravel, it's a hill, it's grass. I'm like, and she goes, "Oh, follow me." She takes me out and she goes, "You can park on that concrete pad." And I go, "That is not going to work." And she goes, "Why?" And I go, "I'm from flat Florida." I said, all these cars and literally the terrain to get to that concrete. I said, that's not going to work. And she goes, "Well, just leave your bike wherever you parked it." I go, "That's better." And I said, "Okay, I'll get the room." But the terrain for me, literally, I live in flat Florida, and going out west, north, even Alabama, some of these roads, and then snow. I'm like, no, 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 I'm not going to deal with snow with with this bike. No. So I'll pass.
Yeah, because we had some of our seasonal passes that they opened a little late. I know, like, well, Chinook Pass and North Cascades opened, I think, a little later than normal
Mm,
because of snow and weather. And I mean, up here in Washington, I mean, the North Cascades is a hidden gem. I mean, it is the most gorgeous ride there
mhm.
is. I mean, it's the furthest north highway, Highway 20, and it's gorgeous. I mean, if you're ever up in the Northwest again in the summertime, I'd highly recommend it because it is beautiful.
I will be.
You'll have to get in touch with me then.
Because
There's some great places.
now this just put a big old bug in me. Like, I wanted to do this ride for years. And now that I've gotten to see so much, it's like I want to go back and see it again. Because when I look through my pictures, I'm like, oh, oh. Like, it's like it just takes me back, I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember that. Oh, that was cool. That was cool.
Well, and that's the fun thing that I'll admit I'm guilty of sometimes is not slowing down enough to take pictures, on when you're riding and whatnot. And it's because I just want to go. I just want to ride. And, when you're done, it's like, shit, I got 3 pictures and I just, rode 1,000+ miles or, 1,500 in a couple days or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, really taking the time to, have the memories to look back on besides just what's in your mind, but is huge. And
Yeah.
it's something I definitely need to work on myself because I'm very guilty of that.
So what I actually did, I bought a camera, water resistant, and I hung it around my neck on a lanyard. And
I've thought of that.
yeah, my friend, you notice I'm doing a lot of shout outs. My friend Ken Knott, he used to do that. And I asked him what kind of camera he had. He goes, oh, I don't even do that anymore. Now, the downfall to that is it doesn't show you like on your phone, the GPS, like, how you can look. So that part, I'd have to go by the timeline, but it was just cool because there's other people that can manipulate their phone and do all this stuff when they're riding. I just knew that I could turn it on and shoot pictures.
Point and shoot.
Yep. And I said, I'll figure this out later, but I'm like, this is really cool, So I had that. And then whenever I stopped for Tour of Honor, I did 50 rides, One Nation, through Harley-Davidson. So I'm taking all these cool photos and submitting those. And so I did want to capture pictures. But when I saw a bear, I'm riding and I go like this and I go, fuck that. And then I was like, and then I'm like, no. We're not going to sit here. Oh, I like popped over a hill in West Virginia and I'm like, that's a black bear, and then it's like, no. And then it jumped in the woods and then I just kept riding. I'm like, I don't, if there's a mama bear, I don't want to know about it. Yeah.
And them things are fast.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, you love, hey, actually, Mike, comment where you're from. You want to do Highway 20 soon. I'm curious.
Oh, yes. I'll let you know. Well, I ran out of vacation time, but I will do that again. So.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, because you were out 4 months when you did your ride.
Yeah.
That's a long time to take off.
Yeah, I took a leave. Yep, so I could do that. Yeah.
So I know you told me before, but that was before we were live. So what was your total miles for 4 months when you got your Guinness Book of World Records?
82,598 miles.
That is impressive. And then, of course, now you're on a road glide, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I turned over 100,000 miles on my bike while I was out on the road. So,
nice.
Yeah. And I knew a week and...
Okay. So actually, Michael's just a little south of me. I'm up in Port Angeles. He's down in Kelso, close to... down by Oregon, Longview, Kelso area.
Who's Salty?
Salty and Sprinkles. They're out of Texas.
Okay, I see.
Friends with the Setzer Pendants and Big Smitty and
okay.
The crew down there.
So I had a mechanical issue on my bike while I was on the road. So I was at Olathe, Kansas, at the Harley dealership there. That basically was my hub where I always went and got serviced. Not me, my bike. But anyways, so they told me my belt, there were some cracks in my belt. And I got serviced on a Monday. They said, listen, like I had like 90 some odd thousand miles on my bike. And they go, we don't have a belt in stock because we never see this, like this happens at like 100,000 miles. So they ordered the belt and said they'd call me whenever it came in. So on a Thursday, they called me and they said it was like a week and 3 days or whatever. Hey, your belt's in. I go, okay. I can swing back around and we made the appointment for a Tuesday. So that Saturday, I'm riding through Montana and my bike turns over 100,000 miles. I celebrate. I take a picture. I'm so excited. My bike has 100,000 miles. It's like, oh my gosh, I have 100,000 miles. About 200 miles down the road, the belt goes.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, that's what I get for celebrating my 100,000 miles. I first I didn't really know. I didn't know what was going on. It sounded like I was dragging aluminum or some metal. I'm like, what the hell is that noise? And I pull over, and I look, and I go, oh crap. I called Kenneth Andrews, and I said, my belt just went, and I go, I'm gonna have to get a tow. He's like, where are you? And it's like, I'm and now I go to Stanley, North Dakota. I'm near Minot. And now, mind you, this is like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 or 5. And he goes, do you want me to sound the alarm? I go, what's that mean? He goes, do you want me to put it on Facebook that, like you're having like bike issues? And I go, put it on Facebook. And I call AAA.
I remember seeing that post.
So I call AAA and they're like, we have somebody on their way. Well, the guy calls me and the tow truck driver, and he goes, hey, this is your bike, right? And I go, yes. And he goes, so you know how to put it on a tow truck, a bed? And I go, no, I don't. And I said, if you are relying on me to get this bike on the bed, I go, no, I can't help you. Like, I didn't know what he wanted me to do, So come to find out, when he came to pick me up, he said, listen, he goes, he must have been new. He goes, I've never had to do this before. He'd never towed a bike. So he actually brought the backup guy with him who had done one bike before. So I just told them both what I was doing. And I said, please just secure it. I said, because if that falls off the bed, I go, there goes my record, there goes my record attempt. So they tow me to Minot, North Dakota. Mind you, it's like I get to Minot at 11:30 at night. So it's like, I'm trying to think, tomorrow's Sunday. I'm trying to think, how can I get that belt and all my parts that's in Olathe, Kansas. So I get to the hotel. They take my bike to the Harley dealership. They drop me off at a hotel. And I'm like, oh, take a shower. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I'm still up. And at 2 a.m, I get a message, a video, not a video, but a message through Messenger. And, oh, Buffy just said, Ken is the best. Yes. So I get this message from a guy I don't even know. He says, hey, did you resolve your issue with your bike? If not, I live in Olathe and I can pick your parts up and bring them to you. I'm like, I don't even know this guy. So I look, Lee Kibbe, big shout out to him. I'm like, Lee Kibbe, and he only has one Facebook friend of mine, Chris Hopper. So I said, I'm going to talk to my dealership tomorrow, which I found out is his dealership. I call my dealership on Sunday. I told them I'd get back with them. So this is 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. I called the dealership and they said, we can overnight it. It will be there on Tuesday. Because, they overnight from Monday to Tuesday.
Right.
I messaged Lee and I said, yes, I could use your help. Well, we talk on the phone and I said, listen, I'll pay for your gas. I'll pay for your hotel room because I'm 12 hours away from him. And he says, no, I'm not going to spend the night. He says, I'll just drive your parts up there and turn around and come back. I'm like, what? I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So here I am in the hotel and I'm thinking, what can I do? What can I do? So I go to rent a car. So I rented a car. He's on his motorcycle. And I said, hey, I've rented a car. I will come meet you. And we literally rode 6 hours north, 6 hours south, and we meet in South Dakota. He tells me where to meet him at this restaurant. So while I'm waiting on him, I tell the people inside the restaurant, I said, listen, I go, can you do me a favor? They're like, sure. You know, because this is South Dakota, everybody's nice. Can you do me a favor? I said, there's a guy, and I tell him the whole story. I don't know this guy. He's meeting me here. He's bringing my motorcycle parts. And I said, when we come back in, I said, I'll meet him outside. I said, please give him a round of applause. I go out. When he pulls up, I get my parts. We meet each other. I put the parts in the rental car. We go inside, and they were like, yay. First they asked me, what's his name? I go, Lee. They're like, yay, Lee, yay. And they were going crazy. So we had lunch, a late lunch, which, by the way, when he gave me the parts, I totally forgot. He had paid for my parts. Like, that's so crazy. Total stranger did this for me. So, yeah, thank you, Lee. So
That's awesome. And
isn't
that just
crazy?
goes to show the community in which, we're all a part of.
Yes. He told his wife, he says, I'm picking up some parts and taking them to a stranded rider. I'll be back later. When do you think you'll be home? He says, tomorrow. Like, that's what he told his wife. So he ends up getting home at like 3:30 in the morning, texted me and said, hey, I'm home. And it's like, oh my, like, and he got me my parts. I'm at a dealership. Monday, they at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning, that dealership, Magic City in Minot, South Dakota. Thank you very much. They worked their magic, got that on, and I was on my way. So, and they took me back to drop off my my rental car. I mean, it's like people were so wonderful on my trip. Yeah.
That's an awesome story.
Oh, I have another shout out. So, two shout outs. So I was staying at this hotel in Ohio, and the girl at the desk, when I got up in the morning, she goes, I have all my stuff, and she goes, oh, that's your motorcycle? And I said, yes. And she goes, where are you headed to today? And I tell her, I go, well, I'm doing this, when I tell her what I'm doing, she goes, oh my gosh, that is so cool. She goes, I know we don't know each other, but please. And she writes out and she goes, here's my phone number. Please text me your email. She goes, I know we don't know each other, but please do that. And I'm thinking, okay, that's no biggie. So later on, I text her my email. And when I checked my email that night, she's put me on a family and friends link. So I get the family and friends discount whenever I go to one of their hotels. Follow me? All I had to, yes. So there were times I saved it whenever I was in a town that the hotels were truly, I mean, like really expensive, or I didn't have any points build up with my the Wyndham, and I had my Holiday Inn points, but there was no Holiday Inn. I would look for a choice hotel. I would hit the link, and I'd get rooms for $39. There was in Durango, Colorado. I got a room for like $50. That's normally like $160.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
Holly Reed from Ohio. And I would send her a text and I said, thank you so much. I used the discount. Thank you. And, next thing I know, she'd send me another email with another link. She just linked me throughout once I met her in Ohio.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. It was great. There, it's like, oh my gosh, where am I going to stay tonight? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, family and friends, $39. It's
I'll
cheaper
take
than,
it.
cheaper than a campsite. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome. It was very, very sweet. Yeah. I
Now,
mean,
did you do much camping? On that ride, also pitching a tent here and there, or was it mainly just hotels?
no hotels. And a lot of the campsites, because I had KOA downloaded and stuff, they were like $40 and $50, and
Mm-hmm.
some places in the 60s, and I could find hotels cheaper than that or using my points. And I actually had friends um, gift me with their points a hotel room. They'd say, where are you headed, which way, and okay, if you stop here, here's a hotel, and they would gift me their Holiday Inn points and get me a hotel room. So I'm telling you, uh, out of 1,000 people, probably met one butthole, and and 1,000 good people, you know. So, and another shout out was Hoagie Carmichael from West Virginia. He does Hoagie's Heroes. He does raises money. He does charity work for children, sick kids. Ronald McDonald House. I didn't stop in a lot of people's homes, but I stopped at his house, and he like cooked up this food. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. He rolled out the red carpet, and my friends Kathy and Billy, they were staying at KOA's, and I would stay with them at the KOA's and their house in Texas. So so I did that too. Oh, here's a funny story. How much time do we have?
Oh, you're good. Go for it.
Okay, so my friend Kathy Lynn Carter from St. Augustine, she's originally from Tidiute, Pennsylvania, and her stepfather was in Korea, stationed many, many, many years ago. And her mom, the joke her mom always said is, "Oh, I'm just waiting for some Korean kid to come in and say, I'm looking for my father, Oh my gosh, wait, what is her stepdad's first name? I just forgot. So what do I do when I'm in near Tidiute, Pennsylvania? I call Kathy and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania." And so she calls her brother, who calls her sister, and every day her parents go to the VFW at like 2:30 or 3:30, something like that, for drinks and hang out. And Tidiute's a very small town. So they all scheduled it. Her brother and sister are meeting their parents in the VFW. So I call Kathy and I said, "I'm here." She goes, "They're in there." So I go into this VFW with my folder, and I say, because I'm half Korean, I go, "I'm looking for my father." And I have the video I will send to you.
Oh, Jesus.
Her brother was taping it when I say his name, because I go, my records show I am looking for, oh my gosh, my mind just went blank with his first name. And when I say his name, he says, "Never heard of him." Her mother in this video, she has nervous laughter. Her worst nightmare has come true. That Korean kid is looking for her father from America. It was priceless.
Oh, Jesus. That would have been so funny.
It was hilarious.
He
And
must have went freaking 50 Shades of White. Oh,
oh
my
my,
God.
yeah, when I said his name, he said, "Never heard of him." It was so freaking funny.
Oh, Jesus.
I was still for days. I'm on my bike and I just start laughing because I'm like, that was, and they're in their 80s. It's like, oh my gosh.
Bryce didn't have a heart attack.
I
Oh,
go,
shit.
hi, Dad. Hi, Mom. Who are you? I asked her mother, who are you? His wife. I go, hi, Mom. I will
Oh, shit.
find that video and send it to you because it is
Oh, that
freaking
is hysterical.
hilarious. And it is not staged at all, man. She was shitting her pants.
Oh, shit.
Daddy. It
Oh, that's funny.
was very funny. So, anyways, I haven't read any of the comments. I think they were all for you.
No, they're all. There are a lot of people commenting. It's actually best one was actually a text I just got from my wife that says you're so awesome.
That's sweet. She thinks you're awesome.
Not me, you.
Oh my gosh.
No,
Yeah.
this has been fun.
Oh my gosh. I had so much fun. Yeah. And my ride. And my
Well, I
ride.
mean, since you got so many miles on your bike, when are you getting a new one?
Oh. Um, I don't know. Now I'm kind of like, oh, I want to see how many miles. Because I have
See
friends.
that, and that's exactly where I'm at with mine. It's like I've seen so many people say, "Oh man, they'll go a long ways." I'm like, really? I want to find out because I'm almost at 111,000 on mine.
Oh, okay. That's why you weren't impressed with my 100,000 because you have a
I was
100.
absolutely impressed with it. I mean, I'm the second owner though, so the first owner was my dad.
Okay.
So I didn't get to put all of them on there, but no, it's just fun to see people that enjoy the bikes and ride them. Because I mean, how many times you see these bikes for sale at a dealership? It's a year old and it's got 2,000 miles on it, or 3 years
Oh,
old, and it's like, why? Sometimes I question, why did somebody buy it if you don't want to ride? And it's just, and to see people like yourself that go buy a brand new bike and you put over 100,000 miles on it. It's awesome to see people. It's like this person gets it, and no offense to anybody that buys them, and they'll ride a couple miles on Saturday and Sunday. I mean, everybody has what fits them, but it's,
yeah.
I don't know. I guess we all have our ideas of why we want to buy a bike and what different visions of what riding is.
Yeah. Um, I like those people that don't want to ride and then you get that bike cheaper. I haven't done it yet because I just happened to get a 2020 in 2021, so I got it cheaper, or less expensive.
Or you
Um,
find those guys that just put 20,000 worth of accessories on them, so you don't even have to worry about all that either.
yeah, but I always, whenever you see a bike like that, I go, "What's this bike story?" Like, it's a 2 years old, it has 5,000 miles. It's like, what's the story here?
Yeah.
And usually they'll go, "Oh, there's this one guy. He trades it every 2 years. Regardless what they know the person and they rolled in and yeah. So yeah, so
Yep.
it's like yeah, what's the story on this bike? Yeah, and I was gonna get a used bike. Like I was looking at those in the beginning when I got my Heritage, and then I ended up I got a good deal on the Heritage, so I was like, no, I'll get that, and I'll get a brand new one. But so yeah,
So how long did you ride the Heritage before you went to the Road Glide?
the Heritage I had for 2 years, and I had like 40 some odd, I had like 46,000 miles on it, just like the first record. And so I had that for 2 years and I traded it because I always wanted a road glide. Oh, this is funny. When I was renting bikes,
Mm-hmm.
before I started renting, I get my endorsement and I have a day off during the week. I go to Alligator Alley, have my endorsement. And I said, I'd like to rent a bike. And they go, when? And I go, today. And they go, that's not how it works. Like you have to call in advance. And I go, oh, okay. And I said, well, and they go, well, okay, now that like if you want to rent a bike on a Saturday or whatever, what would you like to rent? And I said, I'd like to rent a road glide. Now they go, when did you get your endorsement? I said, last week. The manager at the time hears this whole conversation. He comes out of his office and he goes, how long have you had your endorsement? I go, a week. What do you want to rent? A road glide. And he goes, no, I will not rent you a road glide. And I was like, uh, okay. And he goes, no, go over there and pick out another bike, but you're not going to rent a road glide. I'm so glad he said that. I would have wrecked that bike getting out of the parking lot. I am so like literally like I rented a Heritage the first time, and he says I want to the guy who was renting them. He goes, I want to see you ride in the parking lot. I rode in the parking lot. I rode up to him, and he says, okay. And I go, well, I'm going to ride a little bit more in the parking lot because I'm like, oh, I was a little nervous. So I continue to ride around in the parking lot, and I look over, and he's already gone back inside. He's like, that girl's just going to ride that bike in the parking lot all day. So when I finally got out of the parking lot, I get on the road, and I'm like, I remember the first exit to get, the little ramp. I'm like, I was struggling doing that. I remember that. And then I finally darted my eyes that way, and I go, wow, that is true. Your bike will go the way you look, like it took me because I was going to run in the ditch because that's where I was looking. And when I turned, the bike just went, I go, oh, wow, like use what I was taught in the class. So, yeah, so I'm glad they didn't let me. I mean, I would have dropped it or something. But I had the Heritage for 2 years, like 46,000 miles, and then I had my first road glide. I had from 2018, like September 2018 till January of 2020, and then I got in an accident. But I had 60,000 on that, and then now this one I have 110,000.
Nice.
So, so I
in a
just got
short amount of time.
yeah, and I haven't gotten this one yet. Where is it? Now that's up to my new one is 200,000. So I'm 100,000. Like this, once I got this one, I put that on. But now I just got my 200,000 one. So
Nice.
I
The hog miles.
yeah. And there was something I was going to tell you before you had asked me that. No, I forgot. Damn it. I think it was good. Oh well. We'll have to do it when I'm mile post 120.
Absolutely. Whenever. Well, it's
Ah,
fun. I mean, because you've ridden, through your ride and travels, and that's the whole point of why I did this is hearing other people, hearing these stories,
mhm.
places they've been. And for me, I enjoy it. It's, I used to talk in the beginning, I love reading Roadrunner magazine and Rider because it's all about motorcycle travels. It's not just, products and reviews and lots of
Mhm.
stories, different places. Excuse me. And that's why I, started this adventure. And to hear these stories, and, now it's like this story will live on forever in, digital format. Next
Mhm.
week you'll be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts when this comes out on Wednesday. And it's so much fun to hear these stories. And, thank you for coming on and sharing some stories and hanging out. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed myself. Oh, now I remember. I'm sorry. Now I remember what I wanted to say. So Rob Carlo, he does the American Ultimate Long Distance Riders.
I've talked to Rob. I'm trying to work it out to get him on here soon. It's probably going to be in October.
Yeah, I think I want to say he has 320,
Yeah.
30, over 300,000 miles on his bike.
Yeah, because his Road Glide is just a couple years newer than me. Still has a twin cam. And I want to say he went like 227,000
Hmm.
before he lost the engine. And then his new one is still under warranty, the
Yeah.
extended warranty, and he's still riding it, which is just freaking awesome. And I've reached out to him, and hopefully he's going to be coming on sometime in October,
Hmm. Yeah.
which I can only imagine, but like the stories you have, the stuff, that Rob has to share, plus, with the Facebook group he started, the American
Hmm.
Long
And
Riders group. And
met so many people through that. And I mean, I haven't done it this year, and I barely did it last year. I was going to incorporate that in this ride as well, but then I had so much stuff that I had to weed. I said, let me do Tour of Honor and the 50 rides. And it was just too much, so it was too much recording, submitting. So I said, I'm going to limit it to, just a couple of things. But yeah,
Well,
I've
yeah,
been,
because in the end, it takes away from your riding time, and plus, your sleep time. You're trying to get rest for the next day when if you're trying to do all these different ones. But I mean, I get why people want to do it, but like you're saying, it's like you gotta have some downtime to catch some Z's to prepare for the next day.
yeah. Well, and that a huge shout out, and I've mentioned his name multiple times, but Kenneth Andrews, truly, truly, like I'm in like Iowa, and everything looked clear, and I get a text in the morning. He says, "You got to get up." I'm like, I look at my text and I'm like, "What? There's a storm coming." And then I look out the window, and go, "Oh shit!" And it's like I'm throwing everything, getting everything together, and so he, I mean, when I joke around when I say my personal savant, but he was able, like, with routing and the weather, even though we call him Rain Man because he attracts rain, historically. But the Go Home Ken, I mean, he truly, truly, when I tell you and I didn't tell you this before, it kind of took a village. Michael Brennan, like I told you, he's my handler. He would remind me. He was always looking, to see when my spot the battery was low. He would send me a text. Hey, hey, your battery shows low. I mean, just I really had people watching out for me, and so that or sending me a, hey, how are you doing? Keep up the great work. But Buffy, who's been, she put a little thing on here. She would send me a text. Robert Sanook would send me a text. Michael would send, like, great job, keep it up, you're doing great. Gary Turner would let me know. He just sent something, and Gary Turner would let me know when my Garmin was off. He's like, I don't see the line. They truly were tracking me, and keeping me on point. So that was really great. So
What's funny, like you're talking about Go Home Ken, because I mean, from having him on, and that's the most awesome thing. 76 mileposts in, and I can honestly say that I built a personal friendship with every person I've had on here. Text
uh-huh.
messages, Facebook, Messenger, I mean, all the stuff, and it is super cool. And when I got to meet Ken in person, went over at Rapid City this year when I went over there for the Hoka Hey, got to actually, he always
Hmm.
talks about his book. So I got to sign his book and got my
Yes.
little piece of history in Ken's black book,
Uh-huh. Yes. Thank
which
you
was cool.
so and I really appreciate, like, I put it out on Facebook. It's official on Tuesday, and you reached out to me on Tuesday night. So that was cool. I'm like, Denver. Denver wants me to be on his podcast.
Well, and I had been, following stuff through the different posts, and plus, I got a message from Ken. He goes, "You gotta get Dana on." He goes, "This Friday." I said, "I know. I've been following it. I'm working on it, Ken."
Yeah. So
So
no.
no, which was awesome. One of these days, I'm gonna get Paco. I'm working on. I gotta try.
Oh, okay. I'm so. You know what? I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I thought you guys had already met.
Well, I think I met him, got introduced to him, but I know he's been on like Wild Ass Craig's podcast, but I haven't had him yet or whatnot. But that's one I want to work on because I know he's got some awesome stories, much like yourself, and
Mhm.
it's so much fun. I want to hear them all.
So I knew he had been on a podcast, so obviously he was on Wild Ass. And I'm
Yep,
just
on
gonna
the
say,
Wild Ass podcast. I think he was like this. He's in the first five that was on
I
it.
I've never tried a Wild Ass cushion. However, I did this ride on my stocked, seat.
That says something right there.
Yeah, it's like
Dang.
I was cool with it. It was fine. So for some reason, like, it didn't bother me. But
Well, once if
everybody
you
that
get your
has a
hands on a
wild
wild ass, you'll
everybody
never
that
look
has a
back.
wild ass loves their wild ass.
Oh,
So
tremendously. I will admit, I've put close to 10,000 on mine, and honestly, I won't ride without it. There's no way. Mine's so faded, it looks like shit, but it is so comfortable.
right, yeah. So I don't know how I don't even realize what I'm missing. You know?
Even I let my son use one because we had when I went with Craig, he sent one for me and my dad, and then he sent one for my wife. And Hayden, when we went to South Dakota, he's like, "Hey, you think I can use one?" I was like, "Well, you're gonna have to ask Grandpa Herb because me and Mom got ours." And he's like, "You think I can keep this?" He goes, "I don't want to give it back." I said, You got to take it up with him. I'm out of this loop, buddy. You go deal with Grandpa, not me."
Oh,
So,
now,
but yeah, they're freaking cool. They're good.
real quick, have you done the Moki Dugway?
No.
Okay. Look it up. There's the YouTube videos. And I had heard of the Moki Dugway, but I didn't realize how it was spelled or whatever. Anyways, I'm riding along and Kenneth calls me and he goes, "Dana, you are so close to Moki Dugway." I go, "The what? He goes, "The Moki Dugway." And he goes, and he tells me, like, "Go to this, you're going to pass it. It's right on your way, the way you're going." So he tells me what road, and he goes, "Listen," he goes, "just stay in a low gear." He goes, "You'll do great. Just remember, you're going to feel very accomplished when you're done." I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "And if you have any problems, they're there to help you." Well, the Moki Dugway, all these signs, the road is now, it's, no semis, all these warning signs. And I just keep riding. And I come up to Dugway means like the road that hugs the side of a mountain. And I'm on this, it's gravel. I'm like, what the? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to let everybody know that my ex-friend thought it was a good idea for me to do this. And I'm going up this
Oh,
thing, and it's gravel and the turns and this. And I finally get all the way up to the top and I stop because I see the back end of a sign. I stop and I turn and I see Moki Dugway and I go, oh, and I put my kickstand down, get my sticker out, and I said, "I've got to tag this thing." I go, I was so happy and proud of myself for doing that. And who calls me? He goes, "Wasn't that cool?" And I go, "Yeah, where are those people you said that would help me out if I had?"
yeah. Sounds
Like
about
it's
right.
a tourist attraction. Like they'll help you. They're there for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
But thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Thank
It's
you
been
for taking
great.
time out of your night and coming on and sharing your adventures and hanging out. This has been
Yeah.
awesome and can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. So, hey, thanks everybody for tuning in to Milepost 76 with Dana Darcy. And remember, ride safe, have fun, enjoy that open road. We'll catch you guys next week,
Thanks,
next Sunday.
Denver.
Stay tuned.